Hey guys, it's Nisha. So today's video, I want to talk to you guys about timelines. I kind of just got the download, so I haven't really given myself a chance to structure this video, but I hope that what I'm about to say makes sense. So first, I kind of want to explain to you guys what timelines are. I know a lot of people in the conscious community already get an idea or have an idea of what timelines are, but basically timelines are like, so if you understand what is it called? I guess like quantum physics or like the quantum theory, you understand that there are multiple timelines or multiple realities that can be happening at once. This is a thing, right? And it's all because of everybody has a different perception. Everybody has their own way of viewing what is going on. Therefore, there can be an infinite amount of storylines being played at once. One person's reality can look very different than somebody else's reality that lives in the same city or in the same state based on a plethora of reasons, okay? So yes, there are a million different realities being played out at once here. Why? Because there's so many people, so many different ideas, so many different creations, okay? This is why so many timelines can exist at the same time. Okay, so let's take your own personal life, for example. Okay, all the things that have transpired in your life is a part of a timeline. Every person has a timeline. Let's say, you know, on your timeline you were born and then you went to elementary school, then you went to middle school and you went to high school and you went to college, then you got a job, you know, like that is your personal timeline. Everybody has timelines. So now that we understand that everybody's timeline is basically just like the roadmap of their life, or, you know, situations or scenarios that have played out for a particular person or for a particular space, an area can have a timeline, a location, I mean, you know what I mean? So keep that in mind. Okay, so now I want to talk to you guys about how timelines can be hijacked. Okay, so what do I mean when I say timelines being hijacked? So we understand we live in a world that is the matrix, right? Meaning that everything is not how it seems. There are powers that be that kind of parade around behind the scenes that actually create the show that we see today, that we see as our world or our reality, right? So when I say a timeline can be hijacked, understand that the media is a tool in which these, you know, I don't even want to say secret societies. I'm trying to give it a word that we can all kind of understand. You know, for a while, the occult knowledge, these people would be considered like the Illuminati, and then we call them the elites, and then we call them the they, and then, you know what I mean? So they have a bunch of different titles. I'm basically just referring to the powers that, you know, try to control or manipulate the masses. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about hijack or timeline hijacking. So in the media, notice how like there's certain narratives or certain rhetoric that's always pushed in the media. I'll give you a few examples. Do you remember for a while in the 2000s, they consistently put out movies talking about geostorms, right? So understand that when they put out certain movies, that is a form of programming, because they are exposing the masses to a timeline that they otherwise would never, you know, perceive or conceive in their head. Yes, maybe one or two people out of a collective consciousness might one day get the thought that a giant tsunami would take out a very popular city. But now that they're putting it in media, in movies, okay, in front of people's faces, and they understand that through visualization, a programming can happen. Through watching movies, a programming can happen, right? So now instead of just one or two people of the collective consciousness having these random ideas about a giant tsunami flood taking out a city, when we put them in the media in front of everybody to watch, because that is what media and movies are for us to consume, it puts everybody on that timeline. It collectively drops everybody onto that particular timeline. So again, when I'm talking about timelines can be created. Timelines are created through collective agreed upon consciousness, and also timelines are created through personal consciousness, if that makes sense. Like I said, I haven't ironed out this video, so I'm really hoping that you guys are kind of picking up what I'm putting down. Okay, so let me tell you guys the significance of timeline hijacking. So we understand that this is what has been happening for quite some time now. Our timelines are being jacked. The human consciousness timeline has been jacked, or has been hijacked by I'm gonna say by an extraterrestrial source, by something that is not human. And I got this really beautiful download yesterday, and I wasn't even anticipating to share this, but I feel like it fits in really well here. I got this download of the original humans, okay? And they were naked, and they were all beautiful and perfect, and they were in a very beautiful verdant land, very verdant place, and I could see the lineage. I could see them, you know, like one after the other, after the other, after the other, and saw, you know what I mean? So the original human race was very, 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 very beautiful species. Very, what is the word? They're very empathetic to the world that they lived in. They loved nature. They loved each other. They were much different than we are now. And I believe that we are where we are now because we have been hijacked. A lot of our timelines have been hijacked. A lot of things that have occurred in our world to this date have occurred because of timeline hijacking. And what do I mean? I'm saying that through the media, through the projections of the media, music, all kinds of different indoctrinations, religion, through these means, they're able to control or hijack the consciousness of the collective. And we understand that if the collective, if we as a whole collective, or as a majority, doesn't even have to be every single person, if we as a majority put ourselves on a particular timeline, that is going to be the narrative that gets played out. I'll give you guys another example. The show The Simpsons. My girlfriend and I were actually talking about this morning. The show The Simpsons, how we think that, oh, The Simpsons predicting things, they're predicting things, they're predicting things, but really they're not. Okay, let's break down Simpsons. Simulation. Have you guys ever played the video game The Sims? Okay, I used to love that game as a child. Sims means simulation. So The Simpsons means the simulation, okay? So they're showing us a played out simulation. Okay, I hope this makes sense. This really makes sense to me, guys. Okay, the Simpsons, simulation. That is what they're creating through projecting these episodes through the Simpsons show. They're creating simulations, right? And we as the viewers pick up on the simulation, and then we drop ourselves or anchor ourselves into that timeline. So instead of just one person, you know, coming up with the idea, writing the script, and, you know, I hope this makes sense. So they can literally drop the human consciousness onto certain timelines. I'll give you another example. In religion, how they talk about there's going to be a rapture, right? I also got this download today, and I said, okay, well, we understand that they're trying to make the Christian community into sheep, right? Into sheeple. They always say God is the shepherd, and then his congregation are the sheep, right? So what if the religion of Christianity and other religions as well, what if they are just creating congregations of people so that they can anchor in certain timelines into those people? We understand it's very easy to manipulate a group of people if they have the same beliefs or same ideology. So by anchoring all of the religious people, we'll use Christians as an example, by anchoring them all into the timeline of a rapture, judgment day, end of days, apocalypse, all this, by anchoring the consciousness or the collective of, by anchoring the timeline of those stories into those people, they are creating a timeline. So let's say we were never supposed to experience apocalypse. We were never supposed to experience famine. We were never supposed to experience X, Y, and Z. But through creating media that tells that story, you collectively can anchor people into that timeline. And then they can start projecting or, put triggering things in the media like coronavirus or like famine or hunger or food shortage or people disappearing from the rapture. They can implant these little stories into the media, into the news, that triggers us remembering that we've already been programmed through the media that we're watching. So yeah, this is how we create false timelines. So again, if we were never supposed to experience, geostorms and giant things taking out the planet, but we collectively all watch certain movies and certain shows that play out scenes of the apocalypse, play out scenes of, anything, of genocide, of robots taking over the world. If we collectively consume media that have these things in them, understand that we collectively are anchoring ourselves into that timeline, because we cannot create a reality that we have not first perceived. This is how we create realities. We literally put ourselves into these realities. So yeah, that is timeline. So let me tell you guys how we can use this to our advantage though. So if we understand that these people, the great they, right? If we understand these people are hijacking timelines and putting these scenarios in front of our faces in hopes that we will buy into it and continue to play out the agenda for them, because that's essentially what we're doing when we agree to be on that timeline. Remember when they were talking about the zombie apocalypse, right? That is another timeline they're trying to project out into us. Remember, for a while there was all types of zombie movies, zombie everywhere, zombie land, zombie apocalypse, zombie this, zombie that. Do you remember that? That's because that is a timeline they're trying to get us all used to, and then they can anchor us into that timeline by triggering certain things in the media that make us think that. Same thing with this police brutality stuff, how they continuously create narratives and create stories that get the Black community triggered, right? And then it's like they anchor us or drop us into that timeline by creating, you know what I mean? And this is not to say that these things aren't really happening, but understand that they continuously trigger us into dropping us into certain timelines. So yeah, that's what I want to say about timelines. But I wanted to give you guys an example of how we can use this knowledge to our advantage now. Now that we know that they are manipulating and hijacking timelines, a way that we can still come out on top or still consciously create the timeline or the reality that we want to be on, a way to consciously do that is to start intentionally creating your reality. If you know that you want to live in a beautiful place, start visioning yourself in that beautiful place. Instead of consciously meditating on the end of the world, the apocalypse, the rapture, all these things, instead of continually playing out those agendas and those narratives, create your own agenda, create your own narrative. If you don't want to see the world combust into flames, and instead you want to see a reality where we can all get along and live in a utopian society, start creating that timeline, start projecting that frequency out into the universe. Because let me tell you, again, we're all electromagnetically connected through a force field that we cannot physically see, but we're all connected. So if one person is creating that timeline or creating the narrative of utopia, of happiness, of peace and harmony, you can also pick up on that frequency and download it into you if you choose to resonate at that frequency. Understand that thoughts are all around us, again, in this invisible electromagnetic force field that's all around us, right? Our aura, through our resonance, We are continually dropping down ideas, getting downloads, getting different ideas downloaded into us based on our frequency or based on our resonance. So if somebody is high vibing and has high frequency, they can download ideas and download, download ideas that are high vibing and high resonating. If you're somebody who is a very low frequency, constantly thinking about negative things and, complete garbage, you will be continuously getting downloads and getting ideas downloaded into you. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about when I say downloads. Downloads is basically just information coming from a higher realm into you. You don't necessarily know this information, and then it's like a aha moment. You know what I mean? Like a download, like how we get ideas or thoughts into our head. Okay, so yeah, if you're high vibing, you will download high vibing ideas. If you're low vibing, you will download low vibing ideas. Yeah, so this is how we use timeline hijacking to our advantage. We can hijack the timelines in a positive way. We can turn this entire thing around through collectively placing ourselves on. Okay, so this is when they talk about mental warfare, right? Because it's all happening on the mental plane. The physical manifestation of the reality that we're living now it's like delayed. It's like things happen in the spiritual realm first, and then we see the results in the physical reality, because the physical reality is denser. So understand that anything that has manifested in our world, in our reality as it is right now, it's only manifested this way because it has first occurred in the spiritual realm or in the unseen realm. So again, when we're talking about timeline hijacking, we can hijack the timelines for the greater good of humanity. If we continuously raise our vibration and create new timelines, instead of following the narrative or following the path, the traps that they've laid out for us in the media, in the news, in the movies and things like that, instead of continuously following onto their timeline, their agenda, saying, oh yeah, that's gonna happen because the Simpsons predicted it, or that's gonna happen because they've predicted it in the movies, or that, you know what I mean? If we have that mindset, then yeah, it will happen, because it's not that they predicted it, it's that they've created a timeline to drop us onto. So we have to be the conscious creators that we are and create a new timeline. We have to create our own timeline. We already do this on a personal level, like when we goal set, when we say in 1 year I'm gonna buy a house, and then we work our butts off for the year, and then we buy the house. We put ourselves on that timeline, okay? Same goes like when there were young people who were like in impoverished places, like in urban cities and urban communities, and the crime rate's really bad in their environment, and they say, I'm gonna go to jail and I don't care. I'm not afraid of going to, like that is creating a timeline and projecting themselves onto it. And then it's no wonder that they end up on that timeline. It's the same thing. So understand that we are consciously creating our reality. Just because these movies are saying it's gonna be the apocalypse, it's gonna be the end of days, it's gonna be famine, it's gonna be food short, it's gonna be like all these terrible things, they are creating a timeline. We decide if we want to participate in that timeline or not. They have no power, and this is what they mean. This is what we mean when we say they have no power, because all they can do is project ideas onto us. All they can do is project scenarios onto us. All they can do is project simulations onto us. They cannot create or write or live out the narrative. We live out the narrative, okay? We create the reality that we live on collectively, okay? So they have no power. All they have the power to do is own the media, run the media, push the stories, make the movies and push the movies, make the TV shows and push the TV shows. And I'm not gonna lie, some of us are sheeple, we'll just eat it up. We're like, ooh, I love that show, that's my show. Ooh, I love that movie, that's my movie. And then we kind of play into it by saying, ooh, what if that did happen? What would I do if that did happen? You know what I mean? Creating the scenario, and then if enough of us create the scenario, we will again implant ourselves onto that timeline. So this is a really big video, and I hope that you guys understand what I'm talking about when we're talking about timeline timelines. We have the power to create timelines. Do not think any of this is set in stone for a minute. Again, when they talk about mental warfare, or what is it called? Warfare that's happening in the unseen realm. This is what they're talking about. It's all about fighting for our consciousness, fighting over our agreeing to, you know what I mean, participate in certain hi baby, to participate in certain timelines. All right, I hope that you guys understand what I'm saying. I have to go take this little girl outside. So yeah, that is all. Timelines. Regain control of your timeline. Learn how to jack your own timeline or be in control of your own timeline. Because if we can consciously, again, walk back into our power and be conscious creators, the agendas they have that they're rolling out, it's not going to affect us at all. All right. I love you guys. I hope this makes sense. Comment down below what you think about timelines, timeline jacking, or timeline hijacking. Let me know. I'm really curious to know. Okay, bye.